My name is Cookie Roscoe, and I work at the Witchwood Barns, managing the farmers market for the stop. In 1921, the TTC was amalgamated into one cohesive thing that supplied the entire city of Toronto with transportation, and this place was where all the streetcars came to sleep at night. And the city was saying, let's tear those buildings down, let's tear them down. And City Councillor Joe Mihevc was saying, why would we tear down buildings that might be perfectly good? Shouldn't we just take a look at them first? And so that's where Joe enters the story. A lot of the neighborhood people were saying, why are we turning things into landfill that maybe, this is our park. Shouldn't we be getting this back? So that's kind of the story of how forces came together to save the buildings. But it was the end of the day and all the guys had left. And my husband and I saw some activity. So we walked up and we kind of did like a peek in the windows thing. And they were storing the old Red Rocket TTC cars inside. And I'd never really looked inside the buildings before. And a TTC guy saw us peeping in and he opened up the door. And the buildings all had the skylights. And for the first time I saw inside of the buildings, and it was an experience that I saw played over and over and over again. When you stepped inside, it was like stepping into Olive Oil's tent or something. They stopped looking like these derelict old buildings, old garages, and they turned into these luminous, beautiful, it was, anything was possible, There was just this world of possibilities inside the little magic door. And I became aware that there was a split in the neighborhood. There was a very small faction who said, you cannot repurpose those buildings in any fashion that will make us happy. We hate them and we want them torn down. So I knew from peeking in that they were gorgeous. So we all walked down. I was like, yeah, guys, you gotta see this, you gotta see this. So we came down and Joe opened the doors and people wandered inside. And again, you could see them. It was magic. You still experience it walking in here to this day. But when they were derelict, it was a very deep sort of a thing. And we stepped in and walked around, and we were all kind of lit on fire. There was about 200-300 people here who were like, wow, these are gorgeous. Why would anybody tear this down? And we stepped outside, and some of the negative people were standing on the edge of the property, making the Nazi salute and shouting, Heil Mihevc, and catcalling Councillor Mihevc, saying that he was Satan. At a Midtown Community Council meeting, I really did not understand fully, because the meeting went from about 4 in the afternoon until about 4 o'clock in the morning. I sat and knit an entire sweater and listened to all these deputations, and all these people spoke very passionately about their desire to see something fabulous take place here. And then 6 or 8 negative people spoke their thing, and one councillor made a motion and got it through to delay the entire process. And we had been told if that happened, the project would cease to exist. And I went home, and I went into my room, and my husband got up and he said, how did it go? And I said, it's over. It's done. And by that point, I'd put in about 6 years, and my husband was devastated, but I'd had the drive home already, and I was devastated, and I was very, very saddened by it, but I was so relieved. I remember this overwhelming sense of comforting my husband and saying, no, like, we did all we could do, and we fought the good fight, and it's over, and I get to have my life back now. I'm so relieved. There isn't another thing that I could possibly have done. And within about 12 hours the next day, I was informed that that wasn't the case and that it was time to like pick up the pitchforks again and get back to work. I started the farmers market on a church lawn just a couple of blocks north of here in 2007. As soon as the construction started, I started up with the farmers market, with the stop. And it was a tiny little thing, and I kept telling, like we opened, the first day we opened, we had 7 vendors, but we all sold out in 20 minutes. So the next week I had like 15 vendors, and we grew eventually to about 15, 17 vendors or so. And we loved it. And I kept telling all those vendors, we are gonna get huge, and we're gonna go into these buildings. It wasn't open yet, and there was tarps all over the floor and everything, and I did my super tomato stance and looked down, down there at the camera, and I remember that feeling so well. It was the first time I had seen inside where the buildings were transformed, and I knew that they were gonna be transformed like that, and I'd known all along that this was gonna happen, but it was like your wildest dream come true, to actually be standing there and going, yeah, it's amazing. I really love that this market daylights everything. We strive for transparency in everything that we do, and I feel pretty strongly that because of that, there isn't a lot of negative stuff that can happen here. I really feel safe here. Never let people frighten you into believing that there's something wrong with loving something and striving for something magnificent. It's the only way that magnificent things happen, is people saying, let us not be afraid to ask for the very best here for each other.